So you got out, you got your discharge orders. Did you go straight back to Wisconsin, or where were you living at the time?
Well, we were living in Tennessee. At this time I was married, which still am, of course, but we're moving home, bringing the family home. Everybody said, what's next? What's next? Welcome home, you've earned it, But there was no, what is next, and the Army has these programs that they put in place, the ACAP transitioning and things that they really more so just check the box. But I mean, as far as like resume building and mock interviews would have been amazing, but they had all that stuff they touched on, but they didn't elaborate.
Did you have a hard time translating your MOS into a job?
Absolutely.
I mean,
especially the infantry lifestyle. Not to knock on, non-combat MOSs, I guess, but if you're a mechanic, it's easily translatable. I can turn this wrench and make this work. Infantry, I can shoot this gun really good. That's
exactly.
It's not much for.
So you would say, if there was an organization that would come to you and maybe look over your DD-214 and ask exactly what you did and ask you what you want to do, that probably would have helped the process a little bit better. Not saying it probably would have perfected it.
Absolutely.
But it would have helped you out tremendously.
I think definitely, because a lot of times, I'm sure you know as well as I do, many military people, when they get out, they're used to that go lifestyle. And then you get out and it's like, what next? Who's here to tell me what to do, or who's here to help me, provide direction?
Right.
The Army doesn't do it with their ACAP, or, they try, but it's checking the box. The VA, there's tools there, but people don't know how to reach out to them.
Or
and
there's
especially
people that live too far away.
Correct.
There's veterans and service members that live too far away from a VA facility,
right,
or an outpatient clinic to even get those services.
Right.
So they're kind of they're in the middle of nowhere, like a rural community, and they have no one to turn to.
Right.
So that was kind of similar to your situation.
Yep, absolutely.
I started Veterans Outpost because I didn't want another veteran to go through, the same type of loneliness feeling and not knowing who to talk to. I wanna travel around the state, and I want to help my fellow statesmen and my fellow soldiers in any capacity I can. So, you got it somewhat established. You got home, but you took the road less traveled. You took, it was a learning process every day.
Yeah.
Now, why did you join the military? Why did you join the Army? Why did you join the infantry?
It's a good question. My grandfather was a World War II veteran. I originally, from being knee-high to a duck to the point when I could enlist, I was gonna join the Army.
Yeah.
I was always passionate about mechanics. So I was gonna go be a mechanic in the Army. Had no idea what I was getting into, no idea anything. And at the time I went up to re-enlist, I was working at a resort as a cook. And my manager was like, I'll let you go up to MEPS, but you have to ask them how much the sign-on bonus is for infantry. No idea what infantry was, nothing. Said, okay, well, he was an infantryman in the Guard. I go up there and ask the guy at MEPS, well, I want to be a mechanic. And he's like, oh, well, we got, $3,000 for 5 years or this sign-on bonuses. I was like, all right, well, how much for infantry? He was like, well, it's $9,000 for 4 years, and oh my goodness, 16,000 sign-on bonus for 6 years. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Well, then I go home and find out what infantry is. And this is shortly after Black Hawk Down had come out and the Band of Brothers series, and I mean, I was hooked.
Yeah.
I mean, this was the stuff I wanted to do it, but I thought everybody in the Army did, you know. But found out that's what it is, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Then I got to Sand Hill and realized it was the biggest mistake of my life at that time.
This wasn't in the brochure.
Exactly. I was going to be the cool guy running through the desert with his dog tags hanging out of his shirt.
Right.
No, you get to Sand Hill and you're a piece of scum.
Yeah,
and
it's lower than dirt.
Yeah.
I walked into I think it was senior year of high school, and then it was autos class, and then they had the National Guard was in there with their Humvee, and they had it up on one of the lifts.
Yeah.
And I walked in, and there was like, I'm gonna be honest with you, my recruiter was pretty good looking, and I was like, all right. And she's like, hey, you want to join the National Guard? I'm like, sure. Yeah. What? Yeah. What do you got? You know, I thought all the girls in the Army looked like that. Yeah. I was like, all right. And then, that was, I think that was like, I think that was probably like September, October time frame of 2005. And then she went away for a while. She went to airborne school, and then I told her I was going to drop weight. I dropped like 30, 40 pounds just to enlist in the National Guard. And chicken breasts every day for lunch, high school, and I joined track just to keep myself, in shape. And, well, long story short, she's like, oh, we got a $20,000 sign bonus for the top MOSs, and I'm like, oh yeah, what are those? And she's like, well, there's truck drivers, and then there's I think cooks had a $20,000 sign bonus at one time, I think. And then she's like, well, then there's infantry. And I'm just like, ooh, what's that? And she's like, well, you like to shoot guns and blow stuff up? Well, I can learn, So I signed up as an 11 Bravo infantryman, and I, the rest is history. You join the military, and fast forward to like where we are now. How long has it been since you've been out now? How many years have you been out?
I got out in February of 2013, so we're pushing the 3-year mark right now.
Nice. And then now, what are you doing now?
I'm a letter carrier for the post office.
All right.
Federal job. It's a good gig.
How is transitioning? Like, is it getting better every day?
What I've come to realize that it's an ongoing process. I got out, and I had kind of mentioned this to you before about me being like the Cinderella story of veterans getting out of the military.
Yeah.
Where I lucked out and found a job right away. I lucked out, literally, I think I fell into the job.
Right.
A lot of people don't have that, and especially, like you mentioned earlier, the rural communities where you're not in a big city where there is industry. My brother is a prime example. He sat for, I think, 13 months looking, but no resources to,
nobody coming and helping him.
Right.
No one bothering him on the phone.
Yeah. Like we talked about the CVSOs, the veteran service officers, they are a great asset, but they can't come to you. You have to go to them, and it's when they have the time. And of course, any organization, it's when they have the time. But the fact that coming to you in a rural community is there is, I think it's needed in rural communities.
Would you say it's safe to say, or it doesn't matter what branch you're in? It doesn't matter if you're active duty, guard, or reserves. No matter what your mission was overseas, coming home, everyone has the exact same transitioning issues.
Everybody faces those issues, yes. You're always, and again, with the whole social media point I made earlier, the outside world is always going to see the banter amongst, Army, Navy, Air Force, Guard, active duty. But the fact of the matter is, when push comes to shove, we're always on the same team, and we always have to stick by each other.
Right. And we both kind of, I don't know if you remember the infantryman's creed, but I mean, and then the soldier's creed too. But I mean, as cheesy as that sounds, and as as old as that is, there's that ethos, and never leave a fallen comrade, never accept defeat. Yep. And I think those kind of follow us. I mean, regardless if it's not in the military, if you're not doing anything related to the military, the veteran, hey, like, I need a little help.
Yep.
You're not going to turn your back.
Yep.
Veterans help other veterans.
Yep.
And I feel like that's something that's needed in
Mhm.
this country right now,
Mhm.
especially in the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah, absolutely.